Hi, this is Stacia, and I wanted to go over another tactics puzzle. Um, so this one is white to move and win. And if you'd like to pause your video, please do so now, and then I'll share the answer and also the thought process that can be used to reveal the answer. Okay, and the correct answer is bishop takes e6. And why does this work? Um, well, it's pretty interesting. Um, what we're trying to do here is go after the g5 square. Um, this knight is defending it, and then we're going to use a reloader tactic in order to make this work. So it's kind of a sacrifice, really. The reloader tactic allows you to access squares that are otherwise not accessible. Like it looks like g5, the pawn's just going to take, but since you're able to reload, we have a lot of guys on the square. This actually works. So we take the knight because it allows us access to g5. Black is forced to take back, and now check. And okay, why not just take? Well, now we have check, and this is actually a fork. And what's more is e6 is a sensitive square as well. So the king is forced to move, let's say g8, or we'll say h8, is fine, and then takes. And so now we have this other fork. And after something like this, white is winning now. And we're up material. And the computer says plus 2.6 for white. All right, so let's look at something though. Why, I don't know how to get this stuff out. So how do we determine, how do we find something like this? Well, the first thing I always do when I look at a tactics puzzle is I look at material. And so who's up in material right now? Well, it's completely equal. Basically, there's been an exchange of pawns, and that's it. It's completely equal. Both sides have all their minor pieces, both rooks, a queen, and 7 pawns. The second thing you should look at is undefended pieces. A lot of times tactics revolve around things that are undefended. And so in this tactics puzzle, can you tell me what is not defended? And hopefully you saw that pretty much everything is covered in this position. So, okay. So we move on to the next thing. I like to look at what the pieces are doing. So what is being attacked and what's going on here. So you probably should take note that this black rook is on the same file as the white queen. So that's something to keep in mind. You definitely want to look at the bishop attacking the knight here. You definitely want to look at things like this. This pawn is actually weak because it's only covered by the queen. So if the queen were to move, we could just jump on this. Other things to consider as far as attacking goes, or what's being attacked, is the bishop can take our knight at any moment. So there's that. This pawn can take here. There's tension here. So there's a lot going on in this position that we should be aware of. And then it's also very useful to see, this knight is on the g5 square. This knight is on the g5 square. Whoops. Bishop's on the g5 square, and so like as I showed before, there's a lot going on here. And then when you see that the knight is guarding the g5 square, it looks like it might be a sensitive square very near black's king, and it's also a check. So this definitely should stick out like a sore thumb, because it's weak and it's also a check. And that brings me to the next thing. So we want to find our candidate moves now. And so we look at three things, and in this order even: checks, captures, and threats. Okay, and this is where the G5 square really starts to stick out, because if you're looking at checks, there's actually three checks in this position. So there's knight f6 check, and if you look at knight f6 check, you know, it looks pointless. I don't see anything here. Black can just take it in a number of different ways, and we don't seem to gain anything. So we can rule that out pretty quickly. But then you have two knight moves. You've got knight e to g5 check, and you've got knight f to g5 check. And, well, the g5 square is defended three times, right? So you've got this knight, you've got this pawn, and you've got this queen. So any check, you know, it just looks like the knight takes. If we take again here, the pawn takes, and we're just down a piece. And I don't know that we've gained much here. Oh, we've actually just lost a piece, that's it. So, but it's useful to look at this check, though, because then you notice, well, wait a minute. If it wasn't for this extra piece guarding the g5 square, this could be pretty deadly. From g5, we have this move, and from here we have this. So when you see the checks don't work, you can go on to captures, and that's when you will see that bishop takes knight is possible. And so I think by looking at these different candidate moves, you can sort of put it together. It just helps you notice things in the position. So that leads us to bishop takes knight. And then when bishop takes back, suddenly this works. And so I didn't go any farther than this in my analysis, but you can if you have time. And so here's the reloader. And now black's just in big trouble. So if you have any further insights into this position, I'd love to hear from you, or any comments on the thought process as well would be welcome. Because this is how I think about tactics puzzles for now, but I'm sure as I learn and grow as a chess player, I'll probably learn additional things or just see things better. All right, thanks so much for watching.